Hello, good people, and welcome to Off the Deep End, Listens podcast, where we cover role-playing video games in depth? I am your host, Braden, Arbitrary Water Redacted. Joining me, as always, the Cran Physics Deluxe of people, Chris.
Honestly, I thought that you were going to give us our intros would include like different status effects and maybe the more questionable ones, and I'm actually satisfied and if not happy about what you ended up doing instead.
And then joining us, as always, is Borgmaster, the My Summer Car of podcast people.
Yeah, that works.
I think that works.
That works well enough.
And I'm the Cruelty Squad. How does Jeff do this?
Are we recording right now?
Usually
By the
jokes
way,
and references to things that are
recording.
obscure, usually Saturn and Sega based.
Yeah, no, all of our fun nicknames, they're all independent video games made in the country of Finland.
Oh, okay.
Is that a real place?
No.
Yes, I've been told Finland is a real place.
Like, mathematically speaking, no.
If you are Vladimir Putin, you might have different feelings about the nature of Finland as a country. But for the rest of us, we are talking about fear and hunger. Oh, by the way, Jeff's not the host anymore. I'm the host, in case you didn't listen to our Game of the Year
This
podcast.
podcast is brought to you by Carl Gustav Emil Mannerheim, maybe a fascist.
We are here to tell you, the viewers at home, we're sorry.
There has not been a coup.
Whoopsies.
There's not been a coup. This is what this is now. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everyone.
We're all very sorry about these state of affairs.
All right. So, Fear and Hunger is a video game made by a man named Miro Halvarin.
Good enough?
I probably didn't pronounce
Close
that
enough.
right. Listen, Finnish.
Not your forte.
Miro Haverinen. Miro Haverinen.
Okay. It's billed as an immersive sim survival horror role-playing video game by Miro Haverinen. And we played it. And this comes from the fan pick suggestion box. This came from Deep Listen's Discord member, Zeto, which, friendly reminder for those of you that wish to have your games put into the, what is it? Jeff usually calls it the slush pile. Donate $3.
Remember, you can support us on Patreon. I don't know about the email address yet. Jeff hasn't given me any of that,
LOL.
but you can probably send stuff at inquiries.
Oh, wait, shit.
At
I also don't know
deep.lol.
the full email. Is it inquiries at deep.lol?
It's inquiries at deep.lol. That's the email address. You can contact
disagree
us.
with our opinions about something, feel free to send us an email or something. I don't know.
Feel free to spend $3 on the Patreon to yell at us for a month.
Fear and Hunger. Maybe.
To talk about Fear and Hunger.
I was told this was a
God.
family-friendly podcast.
This ain't gonna be one. And I'm just gonna say right now, for those of you in the audience who may be sensitive to topics such as sexual assault,
Bodily injury,
mutilation, violence,
Just
anal
content
bleeding,
warning for everything.
content
Lord
warning.
humor.
This is a lot, and I think that's the first thing to talk about with this game. So this
Value
is
good grammar and spelling. Maybe not the game for you.
No, but if you are, what is this game?
So
CP,
this
tell me what this game is.
as I said, a weird mixture of a immersive sim with a survival horror with a RPG. It has 4 playable character classes: Knight, Mercenary, Dark Priest, and Outlander. You choose one of those playable classes, and then you select backstories as if you are constructing a character via, like, what, AD&D, maybe even all the way up into, like, 3rd edition-ish. And you have one of 4 difficulty options. This is incredibly important, as we will review when we get into the nitty-gritty about the gameplay. The last of which is kind of like a weird unlockable if you finish the game. And
Yeah.
you are presented after creating your character with a dungeon. And once you get through the first of those, you are presented with kind of like this overworld, and that there are more dungeons to go through, and that there are monsters in those dungeons, and that there's this overriding looming threat in these dungeons that are tailored to the character that you have created.
This is
It
a dungeon
is
crawler.
a dungeon crawler. This game was also made using RPG Maker, to be more specific, RPG Maker MV. There are parts of this game that I think are very reminiscent of the usual RPG Maker fare. In other ways, I would say that this game visually is stronger and more iconic than a lot of the normal just copy-paste RPG Maker fare that we have encountered in our own personal pursuits. The title Fear and Hunger relates to the fact that you need to worry about the sanity and mental well-being of your character, as well as their hunger meter, which both of these lower over time and worsen dependent on what you encounter, fight, and how much damage you take. Certain things are luck-based and luck-oriented, so this has a little bit of that rogue DNA in that some of the bad things that happen to you feel entirely out of your control.
Items are
There's
randomized.
procedural generation elements to this, and yeah, it's what if wizardry met rogue met survival horror.
It's what if NetHack, but it hated you a little more active instead of passive.
All with the kind of aesthetical choices unique to, say, Hellraiser.
Yeah.
And maybe like the golden arc
so,
of Berserk.
I think most of us, I think I learned about this game because of the Super Eye Patch Wolf video,
which we will be referencing repeatedly throughout this podcast.
Yeah, this came out in 2017, but it didn't really gain popularity until the last few years when content creators found it and started playing it. There's
a lot of content here
in this game.
There's a reputation
Sure.
around this game that I'm going to say is partially earned and partially disingenuous.
Sure. I would also say that this was one of those early games that released on itch.io that helped to bring attention to itch.io. I think that the big thing that a lot of people talk about is like the thing that inspired them to check out itch, other than like people who knew what itch was as a self-publishing platform, was like the bundle for racial justice during the early phases of the pandemic. But like 2018, 2017, this game comes onto itch and Steam, and it kind of like created a kind of mechanism for a self-published work to go somewhere else other than Steam, because this is before EGS. So
this is in the olden times before you put your weird furry porn games and one-page RPGs on itch. A trailblazer.
But yeah, this was met by near universal widespread acclaim by most of in the press circuit.
Yeah, definitely.
No, this actually was well received at the time, even when it first came.
By whom? Who played this?
I'm looking at Metacritic, but insert like
the people who played
Rock,
this
Paper,
game
Shotgun gave this
before,
a good review.
Rock, Paper, Shotgun, they're British. You can't.
CBR gave this a good review.
Oh, good for them. I mean,
I'm going to say this was a weirdo niche game that was mostly liked by Eastern Europeans until the Eye Patch Wolves of the world got their hands on it, and it got a lot more popular around the time the second game came out.
Yeah,
the second game was last year, though, wasn't it? Yeah.
No, second game was
2022.
2022.
Oh, right, it's 2024 right now.
Yeah, welcome to the future. By the way, it's 2024 now. Jeff is gone.
I don't
know what
even
I'm doing. If the audio quality in this game, if this podcast is shit, it's because I don't know what I'm doing.
I would also say that the essayists that kind of presented this game as being like something worthy of a second look post-release, they also did raise concerns about its problematic content. I mean, I think it's one of the most reasonable reasons to avoid this game, as we've kind of hinted at the intro. But to get back to, let's start with, let's say, a low-hanging fruit. what did we all think about how this game is played? The mechanics.
Yes.
It's not an RPG.
Oh.
I go back and forth about that.
It's
I
kind
go back
of an
and forth
RPG.
about that because yes, this game doesn't have traditional levels. It's more of like an equipment-based system. It does have like
there is a skill
tree, and there is
Eventually.
the dungeon mechanic. Like the formatting and the template that this game is using is very much
It is, yeah. This game, I would say, is.
But you aren't
RPG.
coming back up out
Even
to
if
a
you do
town. Like you're in the dungeon. It's like Resident Evil. Like
Yeah,
you
there
you
are a
get
lot
chased
of-
into the dungeon.
Yeah, early dungeon crawlers just were dungeons. There were no overworld. Like Wizardry.
You don't go back to a town and Eye of the
Wizardry.
Beholder.
Early Wizardry games didn't have overworld or rest spots. You just met people along your way. Ultima even had that, and like
Yeah, you get into town of Wizardry. There is a town.
oh right. But like that's not a requirement to be an RPG. It's a recommendation. Let's say strongly suggested, but I don't make too big of a deal about that. I think it's just like the way your character progression, where some people get hitched up in terms of whether or not to classify this as a role-playing game. The fact that there is no traditional experience game. I don't know, Braden, how did you feel about that?
So I think most of the power in this game comes from your equipment and having more than one person who can attack. So this is the kind of game where they're like, you should avoid combat if at all possible. And they're right.
Because it's a survival horror game.
Yeah, it's a survival horror game sort of thing. But yes, the combat in this game is RPG Maker turn-based combat with a focus on limb targeting, which is this game's big fun feature that it kind of hangs a lot of its hat on. Your limbs can be cut off, enemy limbs can be cut off. A lot of the combat is built around being able to cut off enemy limbs in order to kill them before they kill you.
Yes, you aim and target for the left and right arm, left, right, and center leg, torso, head, that kind of thing. If it's a horrible abomination,
Penis.
Yes, I was making it. That's what I meant. Your third leg. If it's some kind of horrible abomination, you have several tentacles, tendrils, limbs you can target. And yeah, you're supposed to amputate them before they amputate you. If you get amputated, it's permanent. Mostly permanent. There's a few ways to grow it back, which we can get into later.
Yeah. So I think the way this game is played it's interesting because it feels like it's pushing RPG Maker past what RPG Maker is necessarily comfortable doing.
I mean,
Because there are a lot of traps. You can put down traps, and you can put down bear traps, and the enemies will walk into them and lose their legs.
And the distress that they express in game when they get ensnared in traps is, let's say,
distressing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, it's fine. But this game is hard. This game is punishing. I think that's the other thing everyone knows about this game is it is like weird and cruel. And saves.
I almost don't know if save scumming is recommended.
Almost.
You can't save scum. Save points are not very frequent.
And on top of that, I mean, the thing that people really don't like about this game is the whole coin toss mechanic, right? The number of times where it's a 50-50 choice.
That is a huge mark against it.
Things are.
I guess we should explain that.
So sure.
So
certain enemies have instant death or instant limb.
Yeah, special attacks that do a coin toss.
That are a 50-50 coin toss. And you do get lucky coins that you can use to influence a coin toss. Save them for those sorts of things.
And yeah, it's a literal coin toss. Like there's a coin on the screen. It tosses. You choose heads or tails. And it's not just the enemy special attacks when you're searching for items. There's a coin toss. There's a coin toss for a lot in this game, which is probably the purest expression of RNG you can have.
Yeah, I think that. So I know that the designer has talked about how this game is a reflection of when they were in school and they would play those hypotheticals like, would you rather this or that? And so 50-50 logic and hypotheticals is kind of what this designer in particular was very used to and wanted to reflect in the game. I would just say boy, I don't know about you all, but getting pretty deep in a dungeon and having everything be all for naught because I screwed up on one particular coin toss was rough.
Yeah, because you can get like an hour, 2 hours in, you meet the Harvest Man, lose a coin toss, and you get harvested, and then new run.
You meet your friend Mr. Crowman, and bad things happen to you.
And
he don't even need a coin flip to decapitate you.
I play a lot of roguelikes, maybe more than I would like. And look, I understand that the entire genre...
This game is kind of a roguelike.
The entire genre and what this game is doing is, you lost, and now it's time to try again. And maybe you pull a couple of little pieces of knowledge tidbits, and you apply them in your next run. Because there's so much in this game that is pure random, purely like RNG, you really can't do that because at the end of the day, it's a coin toss. I can get lucky coins.
I think we're overstating how many coin tosses there are.
The layout of the dungeons don't change that much, and the enemy placement doesn't change that much, right?
Sure. Yes,
no.
You are correct.
And you can make hard save. They're just infrequent.
But you might not even want to because the status effects are permanent because they cut your leg off.
Yes.
So you probably if you get your leg cut off,
you probably don't want to save after you lose your leg.
It's basically run based.
Yeah.
It's basically run based, and that's what the hardest difficulty is about. Making it like fully permadeath. And I just, when people talk about how they don't like Dark Souls, which I'm in a Skype call with two chucklefucks who don't like Dark Souls. This is the game that those people are actually describing. Because this game is a mother hecker. I'm not supposed to say the F word more.
This is what happens when someone grows up playing Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and then designs a game and thinks that's what difficulty is supposed to be.
Yeah. Congratulations. Nonetheless, ZP, you finished this game. I
got two endings. I don't know, Borgmaster, if you got any endings.
Didn't quite get there.
You didn't quite get there? I got ending A, and I got ending D, which is apparently a permutation of ending C, but there's like two versions of ending C.
Yes.
So ending A is just basically you keep... I guess we should mention that there is kind of like this overarching story, and there are set characters that you interact with. There is the girl, and it's just their name is the girl.
It's just a child.
There is Yellow King.
Definitely not
and there
Griffith.
Are specific characters that you will meet along your journey, and most of these are tied to certain endings.
Yeah, and also the characters you don't choose can show up, and you can recruit them into your party.
Yes.
So what were some of the characters that, before we kind of get into like ending talk, what were some of the characters that you all encountered? Because I definitely saw the guard, I definitely saw the Yellow King, and I pretty reliably was able to get the girl.
Yeah, the girl. The girl is your semi-worthless party member who's not very good in combat, and if you want, you can sell her to a pumpkin head man to get a sick claymore, which I almost and then there's Enki, the dark priest.
Mm-hmm.
There's most of the party members in this game are the other playable character.
Yeah.
And you want a party. You want a party as quickly as possible because death comes quickly and it comes fast. Or you play as the dark priest, I guess, and just raise a bunch of zombies and...
Oh, yeah. I mean, how did you play this game? What were your normal routes? Or
Yes. I went with the knight, which is knight. She starts with heavy armor. She can start with good weapons. She is the most survivable character with the best attack stats, but also she doesn't get any of the fun extra skills that anyone else gets. So that's who I played as because I liked being able to take a hit.
I did Knight, and then I also started Resurrecting the Dead with the Dark Mage. I would also agree with what Braden says. If the Knight is the character to start with in this game, because some of the esoteric magic systems in Fear and Hunger are very, 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 very esoteric. And I would say the learning curve is not super steep, but there's a learning curve. I mean,
This game wants you to play it on its specific terms, and it does give you a decent number of tools to mess around with but it is also a game that you are supposed to play very cautious. And I normally like difficult games. I like the Dark Souls. I think this game is maybe punishing in excess in a way I was not expecting. Fun fact, you have 30 minutes of real time, not counting combat, menuing, and pausing, to rescue Lagarde before he is murdered in the 7th level of the dungeon.
So I suppose that goes back to the plot, or what there is of a plot in this game. Your characters start at your starting mission is to go find this guy Lagarde. He's chained up somewhere in the dungeon. You don't know where, and go get him, and you leave. Originally supposed to.
And
then
once you get him,
it turns out Lagarde has other things he wants to do.
Yeah, so if you get Lagarde and he's alive, he's going to want to go deeper into the dungeon, into the abyssal horrors, for reasons. And you can either do that and continue the game, or bop out the dungeon and leave. You can just leave.
You can bop out and get the bad ending.
You can just leave.
Me.
You can just leave.
You can just leave.
But that gets you the bad ending. And the reason is, let's just point this out. Lagarde is very, let's say, very much inspired by a specific character in Berserk, and that is Griffith. And in fact, when something happens to Lagarde, he very much looks like the ascended version of Lagarde.
Yes.
But I guess that's the overarching story, is that there's this chucklehead that you got to go get. And if you don't get him in time, I think that opts for other bad endings or different endings.
Yeah, I think it's character dependent at that point.
Yes, you can get endings without, and that you get different. But so the second half of the game, which I did not play, but you did, ZP. It's a lot more cosmic horror.
I mean,
right?
Basically, Lagarde reveals that he wants to get the powers of whatever is dominating the dungeons, and he unleashes them as he eventually ascends into godhood.
Becomes a new god.
There is this pantheon of gods that they are, let's say, suggestive of, but let's just say the god of the depth, for example, is very much a Cthulhu-inspired thing. Just weird mouths
and you can do things to increase your affinity with gods, which gives you skill points. You can create a blood golem.
There are consequences with some of these packs that you can make. But
there are a surprising number of options in this game, and some of which I don't think any of us found, because a lot of them are also weird and obtuse.
Getting to the main meat of the game requires getting past that first Lagarde skill check. Can you get to Lagarde in 30 minutes? If yes, then you get to play the actual game.
You can still go to the void and stuff without Lagarde. You don't need him.
But he's important.
But he's important, and and so the first half of this game I have described multiple times as being reminiscent of the parts of Berserk that are kind of grody without any of the humanity. If you like flesh and corpses and giant ogres with giant donguses,
this is here for you.
Then
so now we get into
Fear and Hunger is here
the
for
content
you.
Of the content.
Yes, I think we should talk about what this game is actually known for, because I feel like the difficulty is only half of it. And I think if we were just talking about this game as hey, it's a very difficult boutique RPG maker game that gives you a lot of tools and is very much pushing that engine, I don't think we would have been recommended it. Because the other half of Fear and Hunger is that Fear and Hunger is very on the edge. It's very envelope pushing.
It's a bit...
If you like genitalia...
It's a bit, let's say, generous with the sexual violence.
Yeah, I mean, some of these status effects are tied to... I mean, that's the most notorious one, but the way that you get these, or what enemies do to you, or what you end up doing to different NPCs and stuff it devolves to doing some pretty heinous stuff.
For example,
you can do some pretty grody stuff.
For example, we mentioned that you can just sell the child to a weird guy for a sword. It's pretty heavily implied that things will end badly for that child if you do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just as an example.
Don't give the kid to the...
don't give the kid to the pedophile. Just life advice.
Or, there are ritual circles throughout the game, that you can sacrifice to in the name of your god. Go-Goroth, the god of violence and power, wants a blood sacrifice. So if you want to murk one of your party members, you can do that. Or if you decide to instead worship Sylvain, the goddess of fertility, you can consensually fuck one of your adult party members on the ritual circle. And then, in an act of what is considered marriage, you are merged together into a horrifying flesh golem creature known as a marriage.
I mean, I think it's one of the more, it's weird to use the term meme, but it's maybe the most used image of this game.
I had seen that thing before. I didn't know what it was, and now I know what it is.
And aside from these, one-off events, like the basic enemy in the game, there are times when it kills you, it'll have its way with you.
It will violate you.
Yes, you'll be redacted without lube, and so there's just a lot of sexual violence permeating throughout the game, which is definitely a choice.
I found this game uncomfortable in spots, and I think you both agree with me on that.
I don't even think that's up for dispute. Yeah.
It really seems like the creator of the game had some hang-ups about male genitalia, let's say.
Yeah.
What's the scariest thing you can show to a human?
A giant dong, apparently.
A donga. Yeah, and a lot of that goes away in the second half.
Finally moving towards not just human genitalia, now it's like weird gods and tentacles and like...
Yeah, it's a little more... The second half of the game, when you get to the ancient city that transcends time and space, that definitely feels like... And this game was made in installments, like people played earlier versions of this game.
Because this was a student project,
and you can tell.
Yeah, in fact, not only that,
you can tell
the first demo of this game apparently was their academic thesis to graduate from school.
So this was a student project they just kept adding on to.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's definitely a little bit of like I am in my early 20s and I have very edgy thoughts, and also I've read and watched Hellraiser.
I played too much Dark Souls.
I think they also said they played
Amnesia,
The Dark Descent, NetHack, and Dark Souls.
Yeah, that checks out. The sanity mechanics are very Amnesia unique, but it's one of those things where at some point, how much does shock value tribute your game? And people like Berserk.
I think that one of the reasons why this game kind of got around is because, yes, it's unrelentingly pessimistic and dark, but I want to just point out that let's not pretend that we were entirely, when we were of age, when this person was making this game, that we were also not kind of doing the same thing. The way that my 20-year-old teenage circle...
Oh, I was an edgy
When
shit
my
when
teenage
I was
circle
22.
was talking about Elfen Lied, for example, we talked about it and shared it the same way that Fear and Hunger got viral in a lot of ways. This reflects a 20-year-old pessimist, nihilist, making a video game that, as Braden, you have said, Finland is a very dark and constantly wet world. And this game feels like it came from very dark.
Finland is dark, cold, wet, and haunted for most of the year.
I would be lying if I said that a college version of me would not have played what out of this game. And if it does today, with age, I realize kind of trivializes sexual violence. But, and this is a conversation...
I'm to understand the second game does not have any of that.
We kind of had this conversation elsewhere, off podcast, that you could have engaged with if you donated to be a part of Deep Listens. But we've been kind of like trying to figure out what makes this game not lopped in with the same kind of like edgelord like hatred or like postal. What makes this game avoid being placed in that category of like, this is for people who want to trivialize these things and they're like weird people that you don't want to talk to?
I mean, it's level of effort, wouldn't it be? These edgy games tend to feel like low effort, kusoge garbage. you have your spectrum of edgy garbage. One end of the spectrum is hatred repulsal. At the other end of the spectrum is like corpse party. So I guess a severity spectrum, most severe to least severe. And this, even though it's fairly severe, but there's effort to it. Like the custom art in there is that is definitely a coherent art style. It's detailed. You can tell a lot of effort went in there. There's all kinds of weird, arcane, esoteric systems that you can eventually find if you have the wherewithal to find them. There's stuff here.
The world
There's other
building and
things
the
going on.
mythology of the game and like this world is in and of itself very unique and reflects something that is, let's just say, not low effort, lot of effort, high effort.
Like the shocking transgressive stuff was put in as one component of what the creator was trying to do with this thing. It's just in practice, that's the component that drowns out everything else because it is transgressive.
Yeah.
So if the rest of it can't, offer value to the same degree that the transgression, transgresses, then it's probably a failure artistically, and that's what I would say this is. But there was effort there, and everyone has different thresholds. If you're young and edgy, you'd have a different threshold than tired old guys like us. But so that's probably why it's avoided being thrown in the garbage with all the other garbage.
I don't know, Braden. What about you? What makes you feel like this shouldn't be tossed into the same category
I
as
think
those
this
others?
game has enough going on with like mood and I think their atmospheric music tracks are very good. I think the game accomplishes its job of being unsettling and weird and occasionally far too much. I don't know if that's for me. When it comes to being an edgelord, the hardest I go is I like the Monogatari anime. I think that's about as edgy as I am, and I'm sorry.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I am a strong defender of Seiya no Uda, so that's where I go with that. I go a little bit harder than that. I don't know. This game's got a lot of artistic ambition. I also don't think that, let's say, this does not have a deeply problematic and or off-putting political axe to grind from the creator. Unlike, say, Postal. No. Look it up.
Fortunately.
And if there is commentary about like social class and like expectations, it is usually very clear that it is condemning the people who are doing the bigotry or enslavement of people. Like, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I like the art. There are times when I feel like, man, I really wish that they hadn't done some of those default templates for those menus for battling from RPG Maker.
But that's RPG Maker.
And then also some of that platform stuff, the environmental navigation stuff, just not fun. But once you jump into battle and you're looking at this like weird abomination, the likes of which you have never seen before, that's fun. That's cool. Some of these enemy designs are cool.
And you're like, wow, that is a enormous dong on that ogre. Yeah, it's looking at that like, wow.
There's a reason why none of us streamed this.
I'm not gonna stream this. You can turn off the dongs. You can edit that. That is something that you can flick to where.
Yeah, there is a mod that will
turn off like sexual genitalia. That can be toggled off. But the times when you're looking at like a freshly cut off limb and it's like gushing a little bit, that not so much.
It's grody.
Yeah, no, the whole game, it looks gross in a very intentional way.
And
like, it wants to look gross and it succeeds.
The environments reflect that. I am not a huge fan of the actual like dungeon crawling element of this game because, again, it is using RPG Maker and the templates that were used here are a little too monotonous and you can get turned and lost very easily, which is frustrating, but it is artistically and tone-based, and I gotta respect it for that. Like, it's committed to the bit, as we like to say.
It's coherent.
Mm-hmm. I just, again, like, it gets back down to the issue of, I think that this game is, I respect it artistically in a lot of ways. I respect its commitment, but, man, there are just times where it's like, well, that just felt malicious when I get killed. And it's like, oh, cool, I've got two people who are missing their arms. I might as well just load up something from like 2 hours ago. Or it's like I went into this boss battle thinking I had done the proper preparation work and consulted people who said this is exactly what you did. But nope, I just lost because that's just how the coin flipped.
And to be clear, you can beat this game, like get one of the good endings in a little under 2 hours.
You know what you're
probably.
doing. Again,
If you
this
know
is
what
a
you're
game
doing.
that does not, let's say, have the best tutorializing. It is of the
Intentionally.
era, and it is of the type where you learn by doing and failing, which I know that rubs a lot of people the wrong way. And you can opt into endings pretty easily, like Borgmaster said. Just like saying no to Lagarde just opts you into the bad ending, which is, you just leave, and then, oh, wait, bad stuff happened.
You leave, and then some months later, the world ends or something like that.
Yeah. So looking at it, there are 9 total endings.
It's literally you leave, but
Yeah.
maybe you didn't leave.
There are
maybe you're stuck
9
here
total
forever.
endings. 5 are considered normal. That means they're shared regardless of which character you pick. And then there are 4 character-specific endings.
The conditions for those character endings are weird and very esoteric.
And then on top of that, if you end up opting to become, as Braden hinted at, a marriage or an abominable marriage, like you just can't get them at all. There's nothing you can do. And yeah, for like visual novel-y multiple ending games that I've encountered over my times, mostly the endings are, there's usually 1 or 2 where it's like super esoteric, where it's like it's something that you did in chapter 1 that you know there was a little bit of a hint, but maybe not that great of a hint, and that's going to lord over your entire playthrough. But like it's almost every ending in this game where it's like some weird obtuse stuff that you did here in this one environment where there's a very narrow window where you need to take advantage of it. Like there's one where, what is it? Ending C, where you have to find Lagarde, keep him alive, add him to the party, and then you have to like kneel to him during a very specific moment. And if you blow that chance, everything bad happens. Like you can't get it. So I don't know. I guess it all adds to the fact that the game is very hard, and as iPatchWolf would point out, the game hates you, like actively hates you. The fact that most of these endings are damn near impossible to figure out unless you're consulting a guide ties into that kind of milieu of the game's identity. But yeah, I can't blame someone for like trying to figure things out organically and thinking that this is a little too much.
I think it's a little too much. I respect it. I think it has enough going on artistically that I can respect it. I just don't enjoy playing it, and I don't think it's satisfying in a way that a Souls game is.
Or just a dungeon crawler like that.
Or just
I think that the environments
or
are
a survival horror even.
Or even a survival horror game. Like it's why I'm genuinely interested in playing the second game, because the second game is doing some things that I think sound a lot more interesting. It has a Majora's Mask style time
It is
limit.
an evil moon, yes.
One of the characters is in a wheelchair, and so
that moon's very evil.
And does sick drifts in her wheelchair.
Don't forget the evil moon. It's a very evil moon.
So wait,
yeah, there's
go back to something, Borgmaster. You were going to say something where it's not the best survival horror game, and I think that's an important point to bring up because, like, obviously, like you're looking at creepy visual.
Yeah. Item spawns are random.
I don't know if this is a scary game. Maybe that's the point you were going with there, but like I would agree with that.
I mean, no, just like in the gameplay design, like the items are randomized. You know, like you're not gonna be able to like route it like a survival horror game. You don't have the.
And the game does reward you clever item. Like you use the items you have. That's my hot take. As part of my ongoing RPG crusade to tell people to use their damn items.
I think you would like to tell your games.
This game.
I don't know about you, but I was very much constantly using items. Like, I could not get through this. But just to address something that Borgmaster brought up earlier, one of the endings that I got is because I did not save Lagarde in time. And there's, in fact, a complete ending D, where that's predicated on Lagarde not being alive in your party.
Well, there's also a character ending that is predicated on Lagarde dying, but that's one of the esoteric character endings.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought those up because after I'm talking about some of the weird shit that I had to do for ending D, I do want to talk about the fact that some of these endings are contingent on making, let's say, some punishing character dialogue choices. There are dialogue choices in this game also, and if you pick the wrong one, you just dead. But with ending D, so I took some notes here. You need to reach the city of Maharb. You need to get the tormented, endless, enlightened souls. You need to kill Francois, which is tough because I like him as a character. You need to sit on the throne of Ascension, and Lagarde cannot be alive in your party. You will then fall into the void. So for me, like, this was the easiest way to go to the void because if I've messed up saving Lagarde, which I feel like is kind of a big deal, like figuring out the strategies to just make that possible. I eventually got there to where I could do it consistently, but I couldn't do it like every single time. There were some times where it's just like, yeah, I've been caught with my pants down in this situation.
There's one thing in this game that I think is like genuinely fuck you forgivable. Just one. And that is the dash skill which makes your character move twice as fast on the overworld on the map. That is something you can get at the beginning of the game depending on which choice you make. I did not do that. And it turns out you can juke around enemies real good if you can run.
The build I tried to make work in my limited time was the mercenary with the lockpicking, the dashing, and the escape plan. Just don't do combat. Just don't fight anything. Just don't.
It's
just
not worth
just
it.
Don't play the game. Just don't engage with the systems.
No, instead
just run. Just run to Lagarde,
just run.
Grab his sorry butt, and then run out. There you go. Mission accomplished.
But yeah, like falling into the void is basically necessary to reach about half of those normal character endings.
Yeah.
And it's going to subject you to some, let's say, tough entities. One of the big ones is the Cthulhu stand-in Sylvian, the god there. And like I said, once you beat Sylvian, he starts asking you multiple choice questions, and hopefully you looked up the guide in terms of what's the best answers for those. Otherwise, But it's interesting, but
it's interesting.
Borgmaster, you mentioned that there are those canonical character-specific endings, which are, I don't even know how some
locked behind hard mode,
but also like what you need to do with those characters to get them just is bizarre and mean-spirited, and just I don't
like
even know how you would do that.
The Night Lady, you have to let Lagarde die, go to somewhere very late in the game to find like a resurrection spell or something, and then go back to the beginning of the game to Lagarde and revive him.
It's some like kneeling in Simon's Quest lines of logic, right? I like
don't the barbarian guy, you have to kill all the gods. Like everything that is a god or demigod type thing, you have to kill all of them. You know, the mercenary, you have to like find a specific item in the city and then leave. Like it. And then the Dark Priest one makes no sense at all. I can't even describe the process there. It's arcane and esoteric. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And so yeah, I feel bad because there would definitely be a period in my life where it would be my shit, but it's not. I mostly just found myself annoyed and frustrated even when I'm like, oh, these vibes are hitting, or oh, this is neat. But yeah, so I guess what are our final thoughts in Hunger?
Younger.
Do we have any
Younger.
Ferunger. Ferengi.
Younger.
Funger.
Look, I mean, like, this person made a video game almost entirely on their own and got people to talk about it and speak about it and academically analyze it. So good on them for that, right?
I found the art style off-putting at first. After playing the game, I find it endearingly weird.
I don't know. Borgmaster, what's your main takeaway for this thing that we played? And then also, thank you for tapping in for our guest position.
Oh, no problem.
Yes.
We did give you a lot of time to prepare for this, and it's like, hey, this is our shot.
Yes.
We're gonna try and
Jeff got sick. To be clear, this was going to be Jeff's last episode, but he got sick, and then he had life things happen. So yeah, thanks for tapping in,
Not a problem.
Borgmaster.
And also, yeah, as the guest here, I will say that I personally disdain this video game.
Ooh.
That's good.
Do not.
Now let's rank it.
Oh, what was it? Purely the sexual violence stuff, or was it just also mechanical? Was it also thematic? Was it
Mechanical, thematic, the content and the content, just everything together. It is art, but it's bad art. It's not worth respecting.
I would not. I would hesitate to call it bad art. I would agree that if someone were to tell me that, nah, this ain't it. I don't vibe with this. This is something that is actually harmful for me mentally or physically, and I don't want to interact with this. Like, I get that. That I absolutely.
I mean, even for people without trauma, it is a harmful experience on some level. As a student project, I can respect that. Like putting together like something in RPG Maker that's not corpse party is a respectable thing to do. For like a student.
I like this game more than
There you
Corpse
go.
Party.
For a student project, but as like a thing out there in the wider gaming environment, that is a thing with people playing attention, all that. I don't feel good about that.
I would just say we've been kind of talking about how they made it through RPG Maker. Like to make what this game ends up being in RPG Maker is an actual genuine accomplishment.
You can also see parts that maybe it was pushing RPG Maker a little too far. I've had the game soft lock on me multiple times.
The person who made this game wrote a lot, and let's just say they did not hire a copy editor. A lot of typos and bad translations in this game. We also did not talk about the dating sim Easter egg game that you can play.
Yeah.
There's a dating sim dungeon night. It's called Dungeon Nights. There is an Easter egg in the game where you can change these characters into doujinshi-looking characters, and they are all students in the world of Fear and Hunger, and you can date people.
That's in the game.
You can look up Dungeon Nights. It's bad art. That's bad art. That is bad actual art.
Welcome.
What
to
if I
bad
told you
art.
that Enki was a stand-in for Severus Snape as the schoolmaster?
That makes sense. I can see it.
Sure.
Anyways, so I will remind people about bit.ly/OTTE
Oh wow. Yeah,
rank.
this is real, huh?
That's where you can find out where we have ranked these games that we have played for this podcast. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do top 5, bottom 5 as Jeff did. So our top 5 games: number 5, Grandia 2; number 4, Etrian Odyssey 4; Legend of the Titan. I have to read the entire title because that's what Jeff would do. Number 3, Xenosaga Episode 1, Der Wheel Zermatt. Number 2, Suiko Den 1, OG Suikoden 1. And then number 1, at the top of our list, still undisputed number 1, Might and Magic 6, The Mandate of Heaven. On the bottom 5 games. Number 44, Towers, Lord Banif's Deceit. 45, Secret of the Stars. 46, Aiden Chronicles The First Mage. 47, Unlimited Saga. And I don't know when we will top our current worst game that we have played, Hoshiwo Mirohito, but it's gonna take a lot.
Listen, I'll invite Cass back
shit.
and ask them if they
It's
can
Descent
find
to
something
Undermount.
even.
Braden, don't mess around.
Yeah, let's be real. It might be Ravensburg.
It also might be Descent to Undermount.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that publicly and put that out
Anyways,
there.
so let's start with the line of mediocrity, which we always say is hybrid. No, hybrid heaven's like the line of good to bad. So, you know what? I know exactly where I want to start this. So we played something that is creatively interesting from an indie studio with problematic content. Let's pit it up against another game that came from an indie studio and or creator with problematic content. Do you believe that this game, Braden and Borgmaster, is better than Tales of Game Studios presents Chef Boyardee's Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, Chapter 1 of the Hoops Barkley Saga?
That is an RPG Maker. I think this is better than that.
Yeah, I would err in terms of saying that this is better than that. It's artistic.
Although I will say, if Barkley Shut Up and Jam is like the iconic RPG Maker meme game of the aughts, this feels like the 2010s.
I mean, it's a
RPG
better
Maker meme
game by a lot.
it's a better. Oh, it's like there is game design philosophy put into it, as opposed to wouldn't it be funny if you fought Michael Jordan and it played Sweet
Which
George
is
Brown,
funny.
and then
It
he
is
turned
funny.
into a T-Rex, and that is funny.
But yeah, I would
But
say this game is better than Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden.
Is this game better than Zelda 2?
I don't know. I genuinely.
How do you feel about Link and his adventure?
I'm of the opinion that the coin flipping mechanic alone puts this thing in the bottom half of the list.
I'll say this. I think it's better than Shut Up and Jam. I would even take this game over The Third Age, and I would definitely take this over Legacy of the Wizard.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I would actually put my foot down and say no. I would actually be comfortable I don't know if I actually put this over Zelda.
I think I would, because there's a way for me to play Zelda 2 and have a decent time, and it's officially made by Nintendo. If I had a good time playing this game, I would ruin the entire point.
Like, I would not put this above Gauntlet. I would not put this above Ys 3. Holy shit, no. And I would not put this above
Yeah.
Somabringer.
It doesn't have the music.
I wouldn't put this above
So, yeah,
Bahamut
let's-
Lagoon. So no, yeah, that.
This is our new number 29, which
Ask
I
Jeff.
need to have Jeff get
Okay,
spreadsheet.
I'm gonna.
Actually, wait. So, congratulations to our new number 29.
The 29th highest ranked RPG ever made out of 49 RPGs in existence.
Yep.
So, Braden, what are we doing next? I think the weird thing is that
Wow,
it was
it's your
supposed to
pick.
be Jeff's pick, but whoopsie daisy.
Whoops-a-daisy.
Anyways, we're currently, let's say, still we like Borgmaster, hi Borg, but
Hi.
we're still exploring our options creatively in terms of how to get through this. I hope that you've all enjoyed this production. So we're going to do something that I've been spitballing with Braden as like an easy layup of a video game. So my next pick is going to be King of Dragon Pass, and then also the sequel to King of Dragon Pass.
And the sequel, the second Six Ages game, Six Ages 2, Lights Gone
And
Out.
the reason that I say this is I literally think that Braden and I could just do a two-person podcast and we could record this right now, which we will not do. And I know exactly what I want to say about why I love those games. Like, genuinely, I think those games are messy and weird and also kind of malicious and punishing. But as you have even said, Braden, the King of Dragon Pass game and Six Ages, like, these games are in a genre of their own existence. They exist in their own category, and it's kind of incredible. And the story of like that game being in complete obscurity and being resurrected is just kind of cool.
Yes. I love those games, and I'm very excited to talk about them.
I'll say
People need
this:
to know.
ain't nobody else talking about this game in the Deep Listens network.
Nope.
I've never heard of this.
I would not want Gino to play this game.
But yeah, let's
Nor
talk about
should he.
lore Bibles and duck people and
The duck, we can't trust
and
the
if you
duck
try to make
people.
an alliance with the duck people, everybody will hate you.
Everyone gets mad at you. They're against the will of the gods.
And maybe one of us will be able to finish the game.
Actually
I don't
win the
think that
game.
part will actually. But
I've never won a game
I've
of
said
King
this
of
story
Dragon Pass.
before, but I played that game for charity during a Giant Bomb community endurance run, and I got to the final day with the last decision, and it was very much a coin flip. Either I was going to sacrifice a bunch of my cows to get through the day and just be done, or the coin flip would say that I angered the gods and people abandoned my settlement, and that's what I got. I got to the actual last choice in game.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, let's plunder and don't pick Warpath. Do not pick Warclan. Do not pick Warclan. I will say that right now to anyone who joins
I
us.
mean, listen, all these people, all of these herds, they need to be.
It's the worst build path. Do not actually pick that one.
Yeah, do not. If you make yourself a war clan, that's hard mode.
Anyways, but yeah,
Anyway.
Orland.
Oh, you can buy the Six Ages original soundtrack on Steam.
Praises
I
to
sure
Orlanth and Ernalda.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's an end.
That's a podcast. I'm sure people will be very happy about this and our new hosting and my complete inability to use audio editing software. But
I
it'll
look
be
forward to this
fine.
recording being lost to the void. That'll be very fun.
It's fine. I'm also streaming this on Twitch.
Oh,
as
very good.
backup. So
All right, so this is so the episode's over.
we will have there will be some sort of shitty
Can I curse
audio.
now?
Yes. Whatever.
Oh God,
Yeah,
fucking damn it!
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us on Off the Deep End. Super Sex 420 on Bandcamp. Listen to him. Support our Patreon. Subscribe to me on Twitch, fucker.
I just...
Yes, it's you listening to this.
Not September anymore, Braden.
Subscribe to Arbitrary Water on everything. YouTube, Twitch.
My parents told me, instead of trying to find a job you're gonna hate, what if you tried to make money with the thing you liked? And I said, ha 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 ha.
Do you have the Sigma grind set to make it as a professional streamer?
Are we
No,
still...
I
Is
do
this
not.
still technically a pod? Oh, okay. Hi,
No.
people. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye, I guess.
I can
Alright.
edit it.
That's going to
It's
be like a
fine.
50-hour pod. I think as a first go, that is fine. That's fine.
Oh, wait,
fine.
I didn't do any
It's fine.
plugs. Oh, well.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God
whatever.
damn it. Borgmaster, can you tell me about your thing? Perhaps 5th generation on twitch.tv? 5th generation gaming on twitch.tv?
Yes,
Fuck.
exactly that, but without the fuck in there. Yes, I can be found at 5th Generation Gaming on Twitch, on YouTube. I have a blog, 5th Gen Gaming .blog. I think that's the URL. The blogs are cross-posted on thejibomb.com under Borgmaster. So, yeah, go check it out. Playing Saturn games, playing the Jaguar games. I'll probably go missing once I play Bubsy coming up
Have
here.
you finished Beyond the Beyond?
I'm like 2/3 of the way through Beyond the Beyond. I need to finish that.
Sweet. Anyways, I am
I'm
on
grinding today.
twitch.tv/zombiepie. I'm also on Giant Bomb as my blogging platform of choice, and I am a menace to be feared on the Deep Listens Discord, which you can join for just $1 a month.
That's right. I'll edit it into something coherent. I vaguely remember how to Audacity. Bye.
Bye.